In today's video, we'll be doing a brake job on a 2013 Dodge Challenger. This will be most of the tools and supplies we'll need to do the brake job. I've got Seal Glide for the contact points and caliper pins, socket set, torque wrench, brake cleaner, brake fluid, shop towels. I'm going to use the C-clamp. I recommend a caliper tool, but C-clamp will work. And of course, jack stand, a jack, and a lug wrench. First thing we're going to do is lift the car by the jacking point and find a safe place to put the jack stand. You will want to break loose the lug nuts before lifting the tire off the ground. I lifted the car with the jack, put the jack stand in place, then I removed the lug nuts and the wheel. Our next step is to remove the caliper. To do that, we need to remove this bolt and this bolt down here. With my car, I get lucky that I can actually pull back on the caliper and kind of collapse the piston. Might be able to hear it. After backing off that piston a bit, I am able to remove the caliper. On some cars, to back off the caliper, you'll need to open the bleed valve that's located here, but after doing so, you'll need to bleed the brakes to get the air out of the system. After removing the caliper, you don't want to leave it hanging by the brake line. So what I do is I connect two zip ties together. I run it through the bolt hole here, and I lift the caliper off. I wrap it around the spring to suspend the caliper, keep anything from binding up. To remove the brake pads, you slide them out to the side here, like that. There we go. We need to take the rotor off next, but this bracket's in the way. It's held on by two bolts, right here and here. This is a 21 millimeter, and they're pretty tight. Once those bolts come out, you can just lift the bracket. We'll get that cleaned up, and then of course the rotor will come right off. Alright, pull the pins out, wipe off the old grease, inspect the seals. These ones are actually pretty new, so they should be in good shape. Alright, we got the pins wiped off. We looked over the seals, they look like they're in good shape. So we just need to lube the pins and put them back in the bracket. Do about a fingertip worth of grease. Rub it all over the pin. Put it back in the bracket, turning as you insert it to evenly coat the inside of the bore. I put a fingertip worth of grease on the pin and wipe it all over the pin. Back in the bracket, rotating the pin to evenly coat the inside of that bore. I cleaned up all the hardware and the brake pads with wire brushes and brake clean. Make sure it's all ready to go back on the car. Grab your rotor. I have the rotor all cleaned up, ready to go back on. Yeah, it's easier to manage if you throw a lug nut on. I just snug it up all the way down, just to hold my hand, just to hold the rotor in place. Now we're going to put the bracket back on. Now we need to torque those bolts to 70 foot-pounds. And we'll put the brake hardware back in. There, and there, and on top. Now I dab a little bit of grease where the brake pad will ride. Put some up here too. Put a little bit on the edge of these where it rides in the hardware. always put a little bit where the caliper will contact, just to keep the noise down. Now keep your greasy finger away from the friction part of the brake pad. Usually you can just drop one end in and slide the other end in. I did the same thing to the other brake pad. A little bit of grease on the ends and a real thin coat on the back plate. I've heard different opinions. Some people will actually put adhesive on the back plate. Some people put them on dry. I always recommend a caliper tool, but in a pinch, you can do one piston at a time with a C-clamp like this. You just crank it down, push it in far enough for the caliper to go on to the brake pads. So we're going to put the caliper on. Make sure you get behind the brake pad in the back there, kind of push these ones in, get everything to line up. Make sure the pin is behind the bracket, the caliper itself, the top and the bottom. Sometimes that hits, and slide it in. You'll be lining up these bolt holes here and putting the caliper bolts in. Now to bolt the caliper on, come in here. The caliper pins will turn. Yeah, we have to get a wrench on there. I'll just start by snugging it up by hand, and the bottom one too. These bolts are torqued at 44 foot-pounds. Grab the jack stand and lower the cart until the tire just touches the ground, and you can't turn it. Then torque your lug nuts to 130 foot-pounds. Let's go down a little bit more. Just go around. Now pump your brake pedal a few times to restore pressure to the system, and the next thing we'll do is check the brake fluid. Our last step is to check the brake fluid level. You can see the max line there and the min below the seam there. Put the flashlight up so I can shake the tank and show you we are in between the lines, so our level is good.